This is the D-Day Museum at Arromanches. It's right down on the water's edge in pole position in Arromanches, looking out over the bay. It's not very big, it doesn't have very many exhibits in it, but what it does have is a set of detailed models of the Mulberry harbour, arranged along the main room facing the panoramic windows that look out to sea. The problem is that the models are so detailed, it's easy to get confused about what exactly you're looking at. I did. So I thought I'd try and explain it so that when you visit, you'll get it. So what is it you're looking at through those windows? Well, let's go up to the East Cliffs. Here are the remains of the breakwater as it is now, some 20 or so phoenix caissons, as far as 2 kilometres out to sea and enclosing over 4 kilometres of the coast. So what was there 75 years ago? Well, this is a detailed map of the Mulberry Bee harbour by kind permission of the D-Day Centre, and there's a link to their site below. So the breakwater was made up of scuttled ships, those dark grey shapes in the middle at letter B. And then the lighter colour shapes are the phoenix concrete caissons, reinforcing the ships in the centre and completing the east and west sections of the breakwater semicircle. Now don't be confused by the shapes at sea, they're visiting cargo ships at anchor. So where the museum model is concerned, the phoenix caissons are displayed in the last cabinet. Yeah, I know, I'm doing this the wrong way round. This is what they look like. You can see one with its anti-aircraft gun on top, and they were towed slowly across the channel and then sunk in position. They fared rather better than the floating causeways towed in sections like this, modelled in the first display case. 40% of them sank in the rough weather that prefaced the same storm that wrote off Mulberry A at Omaha. The Mulberry harbour undersells it. It's a port, and it was carefully organised to handle different types of cargo. Ammunition barges unloaded at the barge pier, letter I, general supplies on the main wharf, that's K, and heavy vehicles like tanks and bulldozers, they were landed on this pier in the second display case. This is the eastern pier, the single causeway LST landing ship tank pier. You can see how the Model C actually moves to show the beetle pontoons supporting the bridge spans. And when you get to the wharves themselves, you can see how sophisticated they were, with floating beach ramps to land vehicles through the bow doors and ramps to unload them from the upper deck too. There's a see-through bit of the ocean revealing how the spud wharf pylons were embedded in the ground to keep the floating wharf in position. Amazing to think that all this was happening out there 75 years ago, and it was only a temporary port until the Allies could capture a real port. So Mulberry B was actually decommissioned in November. It's only a few months later, and the useful bits like the causeway bridges were carted off to be used elsewhere. Now, these floating pontoons, beetles, were held in place by special anchors designed by the same guy, Major Beckett, who also designed the pontoons themselves and the bridge sections. Clever guy. But the most impressive pier is the 7-platform general purpose pier in the middle with 2 causeways connecting it to the shore. That's letter K. This is in the third model display case. Now, they could have as many as 7 ships unloading here simultaneously, and you can see why the 2 causeways were needed. Vehicles coming off from the single causeway LST pier were driving themselves ashore, but ships at the general purpose pier were unloading general crates and cargoes that needed to be loaded onto trucks. The dual causeway allowed for a continuous stream of empty trucks to drive out to the pier head, collect their loads, and then set off back on the other causeway. Clever stuff.